Welcome aboard to episode 13 of the Playpants podcast. Look around here. If you're watching, things look a little different, maybe sounding a little different. I'm live in my mom's basement in North Tonawanda, New York. So we'll talk about that.
Oh my God, this is going to be a blast. Holy shit, man. This is going to be so much fun. And then we're going to dive into, there's always those movies on TV you see a million times. What are they? What are your top 5 favorite movies you've seen at least 10 times and you always got to watch? We're going to run down our lists.
And listener Trey sends us an awesome email. It got us talking about our best and our worst rockstar encounters over the years.
Let's go. It's time. Put on Playpants. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at Playpants Pod.
I'm Rod Ryan. He's Jason Ginty, and if you are lucky enough to be watching this on our YouTube channel, well, it looks just a little bit different because Jason, of course, has new curtains back there. So that's really like the big thing that I'm noticing. Yeah. What really looks different. You can see, well, you can't even see, but I know that you have new cameras. You got new curtains back there, huh, bro?
Dude, I got new curtains. I've lived in this house like 11 years, and I finally put curtains up in my studio because I'm lazy, dude. It's like, you know what? You know how fun curtains are to hang? Not at all. Not at all. Now, if you notice, Rod, I noticed, first of all, I don't know if you jumped in a time machine to go back and start this podcast off. I am looking at literally, this isn't even fake background. I'm looking at like circa 73, 74 paneling.
Yeah.
That's your background.
Yeah, the paneling's probably even older than that. It probably went up in 1970. I think my dad probably did the basement down here. I'm at my mom's house at the home office of North Tonawanda, New York. And this is the infamous basement. All right. Jason knows this basement very well. So I packed up all my shit. I'm on vacation this week. And Jason said, well, we got to do the podcast. And I'm like, we do? He's like, yeah, we got to do the podcast. He goes, you got to bring, we got digital crap that we can bring with us, grab the laptop. And then that's never enough for me. So then I got to grab this piece. Then I got to grab the microphone and the headphones. And then I got to get a little bit better camera. Now I'm hauling shit, okay, all over the place. Mm-hmm. But the weird thing is, you know, my house is pretty big in Houston, and I've got a studio where I can shut the doors and everything. at the recording time of this, my mom's upstairs trying to watch Netflix.
Yep.
My kid's trying to take a nap, so my wife's with my kid trying to take a nap, so she doesn't come tearing down here in the basement. And I'm in the basement where I lived as from about 10 to almost 23, 24. I lived in this basement that I'm broadcasting from. It is weird, dude. It's weird.
I can only imagine. Like, I'm looking at the paneling, and you gotta check up the YouTube version this week because it's just funny to watch you. You look like you're either in a prison or Wayne and Garth's basement, man. I'm not sure which. It's wild because you're sitting on this big red chair that I'm quite sure has been down there for a few decades. Is that one of those chairs that's got the wood handle on the right side? You can peel it back and then the legs kick up. Does it have?
But I got it. It's cranked against. But yeah, I can crank the handle. Yeah, I can crank the handle of this sucker. It's like a lazy boy.
Wait, do people still have those in their houses though? For real? Like, are those do they even make those types of chairs anymore?
Okay, so I have a movie room in my house in Houston, and I demanded lazy boys. Yeah. And my wife, what is it about? There's things. Some people are turned off by lazy boys. I'm not one of those people. I think they're awesome. You know what else is awesome? Ceiling fans. I can't be friends with somebody that doesn't like ceiling fans, and it's chicks. For some reason, chicks will look at a ceiling fan and go, oh, God, the ceiling fan.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you don't like the old wood style ones. Does that mean you hate all ceiling fans? Or do you just hate like an old looking retro ceiling fan?
See, I got the
I feel like that's a big deal for chicks, ceiling fans.
It's actually logical because it helps to circulate the air. You got your air conditioning on, you spin the air around.
Thanks, Dad.
It makes sense. I mean, it seems to make sense to me. Now, don't get me wrong. From an aesthetic, give me a damn chandelier. I'll take that all day long. But a ceiling fan, like in the bedroom, totally makes sense.
So I don't know. Your master bedroom. You and your wife. You have a ceiling fan?
Dude, I don't. No. When I bought the house, there's a ceiling fan, right? Guess what?
Yeah.
I had to take it down and put up this cool, like chandelier looking light over the bed.
No,
Yes,
no,
that's what I had
no,
to-
no.
We couldn't have a ceiling fan in our bedroom. Are you crazy, Rodney? That's not gonna go in my house, dude. No.
I would put a ceiling fan in every fucking room of my house. They're awesome. I'm telling you, I hate people that don't like ceiling fans. Save that for my final thoughts on the end of this podcast.
All right,
I
ceiling
can't
fans it
stand
is.
people that don't like ceiling fans. It's awesome. I get it. Some people don't like that air blowing on them. I have to have it, man. And when I'm sleeping, I have to have a fan on.
But you don't
Absolutely
have to have it on.
on.
You don't have to have it on jet airplane speed. You can have it on like a chill speed, so it just circulates the air and the air's not stale. Going back to the lazy boy, what's the etiquette when you go to somebody else's house back in the day, right? So I got, it's my dad. It's always dad's lazy boy. That's not anybody else's lazy boy. In my house, it was dad's chair, right? But if one of my buddies would come over and we'd be horsing around or watching movies or something, and somebody sat in it, and you're like, okay, that's dad's chair. That's cool. You can sit in it. But if they cranked that thing back, it felt disrespectful as hell, man. It felt disrespectful to dad. I'm like, hey, listen, maybe we should go outside.
It was one step underneath somebody putting their feet on the coffee table. Like that was the ultimate.
Yeah.
All right. You would never, ever put your dumb feet on somebody else's coffee table. But when you kick back in the lazy boy, that's a whole nother thing. Now, hang on a second, Jason Ginty, because when we first moved in together, I remember your dad's chair, as you put it. It was not a lazy boy.
A piece of shit.
And I remember giving your dad shit about this. It didn't recline, but for some reason, it was some kind of crazy vibrating chair. All right. So Jason and I move in together. We go down to New Orleans, and he's like, well, I got some furniture. And I'm like, I got a few things. He had more stuff than me at the time. So we just kind of piecemealed all of our crap together. So Jason's got the ugliest, I'm sorry, Mr. Ginty, the ugliest brown, almost like a corduroy chair, okay?
Awful.
And it plugged in, and it had a vibrator in it. And it was loud as bombs. And then here's the best part about that chair, okay? You would plug it in and turn it on for 60 seconds. Half the damn chair fell on the floor. It just shrapnel. There were brains everywhere. There was just shit everywhere.
Every day.
Now, you remember that chair, right?
How could you not? It was so heavy because it had the vibrate. And it also had like a heating.
Oh, it had a
pad
big motor in it. It was heavy to move.
It was loud as shit. And it's like, who's watching TV with that on? It sounded like that when I remember when they bought that shit when it was brand new. It was that loud. And I remember even being a kid going, why would you turn that on, man? We're trying to watch TV. It would just fuck up the TV, everything, man. You can't have that.
Was that like a luxury item back in the day? Like, is that the first ever vibrating chair of all time? Because I'm telling you, Niagara Falls, the Bito Paris, the hotels up and down Niagara Falls Boulevard. You put a quarter in the bed. Dude, it's quieter than your dad's old chair. I remember giving your dad shit when they came down to see us. I'm like, Mr. Ginty, you got to tell me what's going on with this chair. And of course, he's got jokes, but I didn't get a straight answer out of him. I said, was it always this loud? And I never got a straight answer out of him about that chair.
I think at the time, because he was having back troubles and they just thought, let's get a chair that makes a lot of fucking noise. So he went from having back troubles, that never got fixed. And then he went deaf because the damn chair was so loud.
So in my mom's basement, there's activity going on upstairs. It's a small house, okay? Right. This is the house that I was born and raised in. I feel like a bit of a giant, like walking around this house. None of the upgrades have happened in this house. So the sink in like the bathroom is still very low. I don't think that's a standard size anymore. I think most countertops are much higher. I don't know. I don't notice it as much in the kitchen, but the house is so small. I feel like a giant walking around. It's insane. Like I feel like Andre the Giant. So I go in and I'm bending over and I'm hunched over in this little sink, the sink that I washed my hands in 35, 40 years ago. It's so weird. I mean, it's so weird being here, but I've talked about it before. There's much like the heat, I was not allowed to touch the thermostat when I was a child.
Right.
It does get warm in Buffalo. Now, it's not warm today. It's only in the 70s here. I went down to downtown Buffalo. It's like 73 outside. It's awesome. It's so unbelievable because it's like 100 degrees in Houston.
Right.
And I'm sure you're getting the same there. But the air kicks on when I turn it on. Now, we have since put in air conditioning. We put in air conditioning for my mom. You didn't grow up with central AC, did you?
No, you had heat. It was not.
None of us did.
No. You didn't.
So there's AC. So there's air conditioning in the house now, and I'm running a little warm. And
open a goddamn window, Rodney.
Well, yeah, today you can, but the other days it was a little warm, and I'm turning on the AC, and my mom can't help herself. Who turned on the AC? Who? Like, no one's allowed to touch the thermostat. I spent so much time in this house, but I feel eternally 12 for some reason. I spent all my high school years here. I went to college and I lived here in the basement.
Right.
So all of those years I spent in this house, but I never really matured past 12 in my mom's eyes in this house. And I come back here as a 51-year-old man, and I feel kind of 12-ish. I feel like a giant who's 12 years old. It's very weird.
I totally get it too, man. I totally get it because I remember being like, when I went back to Buffalo, and somehow I ended up in one of the high school. I think
your mom and dad's house. Your mom and dad's house is no longer here. So
no,
that's a big difference between you and I. I come back here and we stay. I can stay at a nice hotel, dude. I got my wife, I got my kid. Dude, my back is fucking killing me. Okay, I'm such a wimp. I'm on this shitty bed. We're all piled in on top of one another. We're sleeping like cave people. But the difference is, when you come back here, your mom and dad, they sold their house. They moved.
Yeah, I don't get to Buffalo as much as I like to because I still got friends and family there that when I do show up, I visit. And it's weird because when I drive around, like you're in North Tonawanda. I grew up in a little city called Lockport, which is small as well. I feel like a giant when I drive around that city now. Because I remember driving around when I was a kid. I'm like, damn, this street goes on forever. This street goes on forever. These are all long streets. When I go back now, I'm like, that's it? What happened? Why is it so small now? It's because I've gone on and lived in bigger cities. But yeah, the whole small thing is weird. But it doesn't matter if I go home to Buffalo. If I go visit my parents who live in South Carolina now, as soon as I walk into my mom's house, which I never lived in, I sleep in the guest room, the whole thing, my wife, my kid, everything like that. But it's the dynamic with the family that I find very bizarre, that you go back to almost being like 12, 13, 14 years old. Because
for some reason, 12's that sweet spot. Like I feel 12-ish around my mom still.
Like my mom will tell me shit and I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, why am I saying yeah, okay? I shouldn't be saying yeah, okay. That's asinine. I just agree with my mom because she's my mom. I just go, oh yeah, okay, cool. I can do that. Why? And you just get into your little, the little weird, fucked up intricacies amongst family members, that little things that'll piss you off that you never bring up too much or anything like that.
Yeah.
They are the second you see each other again, they're right there. They're all there. They're back in the forefront. You put them away when you go back to Houston or I go back to New Orleans, right? They all come rushing right to the forefront. All the little things that piss you off that always used to get in the arguments, they're back. Everything is back. It comes rushing forward right to the front.
But those are the things that you're going to miss when they're not around.
Totally.
My dad's not around anymore. He's been gone for a long time. And all those things that, drove me crazy about my dad. You would kill, I would kill for my dad to piss me off right now, come in here and yell at me for, not coiling the hose. I'd love for my dad to come in here and whip me with a hose right now. That would be awesome.
Right.
But I have my mom who is an animal. And then I have my sister who is morphed into my mom. Okay. They're best friends.
Jesus.
And my sister's a little bit older than me and she's the best Aunt Sue ever. Okay. Aunt Sue is so great with my kid. But Sue and my mom, they're best friends, but they just bicker. And I know you've been around it. But my wife's from Texas, and she's really kind of sweet. And her mom is sweet. So that's her dynamic, Everybody's kind of considerate. and they're nice to one another, and they say please and thank you. Like, I think shit that like normal people do. And my sister and my mom, they just yell at each other, but that's how they exist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing to be around it for a little bit, but we're on day 4, 5, and I can see my wife just turning a little bit. Like, I can see it just, it's like, okay, it's a small house. My sister took the week off from work. So
Jesus.
Because she wants to see the kid.
Yeah.
But she wants to see the kid, which is great. And again, she's awesome. But it's just 2 of my moms are running around here, and they're animals.
Yeah.
They're absolute animals. To hear them go back and forth. Now, I've been with my wife for long enough where she kind of understands it. But boy, that was a massive, just a massive shock to her. She didn't know that people treated each other that way. She thought that they were mortal enemies, the way that they were talking to one another. It's just the littlest thing. It could be the way that you put the butter down for the corn on the cob and why didn't you bring the salt? I didn't know you wanted salt. I thought you were cutting down on salt. Well, Jesus Christ, get the salt. That is just, that's how dinner starts.
Yeah. And that's no big deal. You look at it like, what's the big deal? I'm used to it. I'm used to that. That's no big deal.
Jesus Christ, get the salt. I'm not the only one here. Maybe someone else wants salt. My wife's like, what the fuck? What is going on? I go, that's just how they talk. That's it. That's every day, all day. Well, Jesus Christ, how am I supposed to know?
You know what, dude? See, that's the thing. See, we're both Northeast guys, right? I think this is just, I think a lot of people from the South. I remember when we both went to New Orleans at the same time, and we were like, what the fuck is going on in the South? Because
why is everybody so nice to one another?
Why is everybody so nice all the time? And people are like, why is fucking, like, people come to me all the time and be like, why is Rod so grumpy all the time? I'm like, he's not. Why? What's wrong? And I'm sure I've heard from different people. They're like, why is Ginty so fucking grumpy all the time? I'm like, I'm not. It's just the way
he's
we
fine.
were
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
stop talking to me. He's fine.
Pass the fucking salt. But I remember
I'm not the only one here. Somebody else wants salt.
I mean, if you fucking cook with some salt, I wouldn't have to shake it down here every goddamn night.
But you're right. I remember you and I, like, were getting into the elevator, and like people were talking to us. Like, you know, are you having a good day? Or, you know, how you doing today? Or, you know, did you see that game? And you and I are riding up. We had to go 42 floors up in our first building in New Orleans. So we were in a business type building, and Jason and I went in at the same time. And people are talking to us. Like, what? Nobody talks to anybody in New York. Like,
nobody
does.
Nobody gives
you
a
don't
shit.
chit chat. You don't even make eye contact with people. It's not like you're going to get stabbed or anything. It's not like that.
It's just a different way.
It's just people they don't talk. They don't initiate any kind of a conversation. Now, I've changed totally. I notice it when I'm down here, and I think people are walking around pissed off. I'm saying hi to all these people. I'm out in the yard with my sister, and we're playing with the kid, and they're walking a dog, you know, walking by. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? Look, London, look at this little doggy. You think my sister glanced at those people that live down the street from her?
No.
My sister didn't even glance at them.
They didn't bring salt.
It's just, well, Jesus Christ, I'm not the only one.
But like my wife is Hispanic, right? So Hispanics are very hug, touch, family is big, you know, everyone's in the house. It's very caring, very loving. Like your wife, right? The South is very much like that, right? So I remember the first time we like met new people in New Orleans, and the girls would come up and give a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And I'm like, whoa, what's up here? What's going on? Why is this? What is this? This is weird. I talk to you. I'm like, dude, is that supposed to be, what am I supposed to do in that situation? Do I hug them? Do I touch them? What's going on here? I'm like such an idiot. Didn't know anything about this. Because up north, man, nobody hugs. It just doesn't happen like that. It's not like that. It was never like that in my house. Really?
It wasn't.
At all.
No, not at all. We struggled with that when we went because we got introduced to some people, and then like Shannon would take us around, and we go around to some parties, and we got introduced to her friends, and you know, everybody was hugging. They're like, hey guys, what's up? Welcome.
Yeah.
And we're being hugged, and we struggled with it. It was bizarre.
We're standing there like this. You got your arms down to your side. You're like getting hugged. You're like, oh, hey. So it's So my wife has
Awkward.
always given me shit. Well, not so much now, because after all these years living in New Orleans and stuff, I've embraced it, man. Everybody, you know, I've completely
You've been in the
changed.
South longer than you were up north.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I love it. But my wife, every time we go back to Buffalo, she's like, fucking gloom and doom up here, man. What the fuck? Nobody hugs, nobody talks. There's everybody just is like grumpy all the time. She's like, and then she, you know, if I don't pass the salt quick enough at the dinner table, it's like, she'll be like, oh, there it is. Yep. Oh, you're grumpy, huh? You don't say thank you now? You know what I mean? Like, oh, back to Buffalo ways. Is that what the deal is? That Northeast style? I think it's the Rust Belt mentality, man. I think it was all blue collar, hardworking. Who gives a shit? Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
You know, my house is the same as yours in that respect. I mean, it was love in the house all the time, but it was a different way of showing it, I guess, is what we're getting at.
Yeah, it was never said. The word love was never said. It was just
not really.
You know, this when I was out, and I'm noticing everything now, and I'm noticing, you know, I'm like an observationalist when I'm out and about. I mean, my town, North Tonawanda, which is right in between Niagara Falls and Buffalo, and Jason grew up not far from here.
Right.
So there are these little towns, and everybody was a worker, meaning factory worker. They worked for a living, you know, and there's still a lot of that. I went to Ted's Hot Dogs, which is a staple here.
Oh, it's great.
And we went during the day, and I see all the dudes rolling up in their trucks, and there's a piece of me that feels like, dude, that's supposed to be me, man.
Me too.
It's weird. That's supposed to be me rolling up, dirty boots, whatever these guys are working on the line, they're doing something, but they're, you know, I see them coming in for lunch. We just went to lunch the one time. And there's a piece of me that just thinks I'm supposed to be doing that, man. When I still go by a big factory, even in Houston, if I get outside of Houston and I see, you know, factories and there's the loading docks and trucks or whatever, there's still a piece of me. And I've been doing radio for a long time. We both have. There's a piece of me that thinks, dude, that's where you were supposed to be. That's exactly where you were supposed to be. You know, it's not nothing more, nothing less. You would have been happy to do that job. You know, like the best job would have been doing what my sister's doing. That was what I was supposed to be doing. What my sister does, working at General Motors. You know, my dad got her in to the other General Motors factory, and he was supposed to get me in there, you know, and I just said, no, dude, I don't want to do that. I really, really upset my father telling him that I didn't want to do that. And the only thing that saves me was that I got a job. You and I got our jobs in radio. We were still here in Buffalo. Yep. My dad was alive, and he got to hear me on the radio. And thank God, because you and I were working, we've talked about it, for $5 an hour, even when we got hired working part-time on the weekends. The only thing that saved me, because I would have been miserable had my dad not at least experienced hearing his kid on the radio. Oh, that's why you turned me down trying to get you in at the factory, you know? But it's weird. I just have all of these old feelings like flooding in when I come back here. It's crazy.
I know anytime I walk by or you drive and you see a construction site and you see all the Caterpillar, the big yellow machinery, right? The big cranes and the bulldozers and the huge dump trucks.
That was your world.
Was going to be my future. I'd be sitting in a dump truck right now, dragging dirt and stone right now. And I'd be making decent money because it was a good job. I wouldn't be able to stand up straight because my back could be destroyed. But I was going to do that. That was my future. I was going to be running heavy equipment the rest of my life. My same concept, man. My dad got me in, got me a good job. I was making good money and I quit that job. My dad and my mom were like, what in the fuck are you doing? That you're set for life. Because it was a county job. To get guys would kill each other to get a job like that. Union, the whole thing. I was set for life. I was done. It was all
that you hear that term all the time. What you just said, dude, you're working for the county. You're set.
Good.
You're set for life.
I was done. But in the meantime, I was working my ass off at the radio station all night, doing all that shit. And I had to come home and I fucking went, I got to quit the job driving a truck, man, and making more money than I could ever dream of making at the time. And then go make $5 an hour. I had to go. And then, of course, all my money dried up because I wasn't making any damn money. I had to move back in with my parents. after moving away for a few years, all that independence, I moved back in. Same concept, man. My parents just didn't get it. They didn't get it. They're like, what are you doing? You are a major fuck up, right? You know? So I'll never forget it, man. It was the craziest shit ever. And I was actually living in my parents' basement then because they turned my damn room into an exercise room.
Who wouldn't want this? I mean, this is awesome down here.
You got a lazy boy with probably some weird mold on it and God knows what else. Why not? Well, that'd be a great thing.
I got a dehumidifier that I had to unplug right next to me. So that thing wasn't running. It's nice.
So I'm there, right? And I'd been working part-time at the Fox at the time. We were both working there. And I was on my way to go help somebody do a radio gig. I was just going to be carrying boxes and hanging banners for somebody else. But I had been on the weekend. And I'd been on quite a bit on the weekend. So my name was out there. I was on the air. My dad, from the time, I don't know when, but he's always been real proud about the mailbox, right? And this is the kind where we had a mailbox out by the street. And he would put his name and our address on the mailbox, right? Big fucking blazing numbers in the address on his mailbox.
The Ginties.
The Ginties, right? Boom. And then his first name out there on the old mailbox. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. It's Halloween night. Okay. And back then you started trick-or-treating before it was dark. So I'm upstairs having dinner and I'm just miserable. I'm going to go do a radio gig. So I'm excited, but I'm living with my parents. I'm making $5 an hour. And you know how it was. We were working our balls off. Ding dong, trick or treat. And there's some kids, probably about 12 or 13 standing there. And they're like, they get the candy exchange. My dad's sitting there. And then one of the kids goes, hey, it says Ginty on your mailbox. You guys know Jason Ginty? And
nice.
my dad goes, yeah, he lives here. He's my son. And my dad's not putting it all together, right? He just goes, yeah, it's my son. He lives here, And the kids go, oh, dude, I told you he lived here. And they start doing the whole, oh man, I know he lived here. I told you he lived here. I saw him before, man. He lives here.
The guy on the radio.
The guy on the radio lives here. And then my dad's like, yeah, that's my son, And then all of a sudden the lights go on and everyone's home, man. It was like, I could hear my dad and he starts talking to him like, yeah, no, he works on the radio station. And you could just see him going, I could hear it in his voice. It went from, what a fuck up. Why is he not driving a truck with me right now, making good money set for life? And then these kids are talking about me, about radio to him. And I could just hear the lights going on, man. It just changed his voice. And then I sat up there and I was like, all right, motherfucker, here we go. And then of course it's worked out since then pretty well for us both. But yeah, living at home, that was a kick in the teeth going back home. And I appreciate it, obviously, but man, that was some rough sledding for a while. You think the salt was a problem in your house. Holy shit.
Well, I'm glad that you said, let's continue with the podcast. And I'm glad I was able to kind of like piecemeal something together. So it is kind of fun down here in the basement. Before this podcast is over, and this is where the tease comes in, Jake.
Well, like teases. They taught us that a long time ago.
I'll give a little tour of the basement, okay? Before the podcast is over, you got to listen to this whole damn thing, and then I'll give you a little tour, and I'll show you what. I mean, it's trashed down here. It's trashed.
So it's no different than before.
Well, we kind of had a couch. I mean, we used to party down here, so it was all right.
Oh shit, dude! We're gonna have, wait. We gotta throw down some stories about that fucking basement, dude. Because I'm just sitting here, and when you just before we started the podcast, you started panning. I went, oh, holy shit! I remember some awful things about that basement. I remember some great things about that basement. We gotta bust out some of that shit here in a second. But Rod, before we do that, it smells like feet down there still.
No, well, yeah, a little bit. So we're gonna take a break, right?
Yeah, coming up, man. The people watch the same movies. If I'm folding laundry or if I'm doing something in my house, I'll turn the TV on and I'll just scroll through all the cable channels and bam, if something's there that I like, I'll watch it. And inevitably, it's always one of the same old movies that I love. So people I've seen on the internet the last couple of days talking about the top 5 movies that they've seen 10 times or more, right? That they'll always just at least watch for a couple of minutes if it's on. Even though you could mouth every line, you can repeat everything. We're going to get into that. And then obviously, Rod, with our professions, we have unique opportunities. We get to meet a lot of rock stars. We interview them. You do a lot more than I do. But we both had interesting experiences throughout the years in our careers of meeting famous people. So
right. And I got an email about it. And he was asking, he said, he listens to the podcast and he was asking about our best and our worst experiences with, it doesn't have to be a rock star. It could be people that we have interviewed. So it could be anybody. Right. So your best and worst experiences over the years. And I said, yeah, we would definitely get into that. So we'll do all this after a short, tiny mini, because, we do very, very small breaks here.
Yeah, Lucky's Pub West. The next time you're in Houston, Lucky's Pub West, the place to go. I-10 and Barker Cypress. Astros baseball is getting good, man. It's definitely the time to start getting in on that. On over 40 TVs there at Lucky's Pub West. The food is delicious. The best pizza on the best side. Killer wings, burgers, and of course the big time famous Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Put them right in your mouth. Just eat those things and wash it down with an ice cold beer, man. Lucky's Pub West, an ice cold beer at a fair price. How do you go wrong? Lucky's Pub West. We get all the links on our YouTube channel and our podcast pages. I-10, Lucky's Pub West, I-10 at Barker Cypress in Houston. Next time you're in Houston, that's the place to go. And I brought this up last week, Rod. I said, we've got to figure out a way. I got to come to Houston pretty soon because it's been a while since I've been there. I haven't even seen your new house and everything. And we got to try to pull this off at Lucky's. We got to try to do.
Do I do a live podcast there?
I really do, and I don't know when, but I think it would be fun as shit. It would be fun to meet like different people who listen.
I know a guy, so we could make that happen over at Lucky's.
Well, if you can put in a call or something, that'd be pretty fucking cool. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think it's either something we'll just do it, and then if it sucks, we'll just throw it in the garbage. We won't release it, or it might end up being kind of fun because I think there's enough people that would actually kind of give a shit, and we'll drink beers, of course. And then you know what? I don't care. I'm going to try the famous Philly cheesesteak egg rolls things.
Oh, they're good. They're good.
That's what I hear.
Okay, so I like how you set up this list to me, and I was thinking almost in the same terms as you. You're scrolling on a Saturday, if you get time to watch a little TV, and it's TBS or it's one of those type things, and the movie hits, and you just have to spend 20, 25, 30, maybe watch the rest of it, and you've already seen it 100 times.
Yep.
That's the kind of movie we're talking about, right?
Absolutely. It's like you love the movie or you'll watch it because every movie has a part where you're like, this part sucks. I hate it. I'll watch it up until that part, whatever that movie may be sometimes. You're like, I don't give a shit about that part. So I'm done. I'm out. And I'll go back to doing work. But yeah, it's on. You got to at least take a quick look at it.
And you know every line. And you know every single line of the movie.
It's already implanted into your head at this point. You've seen it. You've done it. You know it. You don't need to watch it ever again. So the top 5 movies you've seen 10 times or more that you still are going to punch up if it's on.
Okay. Am I going first?
Yeah, well, you're the guy in the basement. I think, I think these movies will go with the paneling.
Who's ever lowest to sea level gets to go first? Is that what you're telling me?
Then I would go first, actually, because
you probably would.
I'm in New Orleans. We're lower.
Even with me in the basement. All right. I'm going to start at number 5. I know every line of the movie. I've seen the movie. I'm going to tell you that I know that your minimum was, every movies that you've seen 10 times or more. Every movie on this list I've seen 50 times. Number 5. Caddyshack. Caddyshack,
yes,
is so great still to this day, and it doesn't matter if I do scroll past it, Comedy Central, I don't know, whoever runs this stuff, you have to keep it on for a little bit, and then of course you kind of get bummed out because the commercial is going to come on, and then you walk away. But You've seen it a million times, and I know every single line in it, and it's to me it's one of the great. Now, in any world. This is a sidebar. In any world, is Caddyshack a sports movie? Yes or no?
I guess you could say it is. I don't know if it's something that, it's not like Rocky where it's all about the sport. It's like the sport's there. It's like, it's a weird conglomeration of lifestyle events that happen at a golf club. I think and it's golf a sport at the end of the day. It's more of a leisure
it's a comedy.
Activity. Yeah.
Everyone's going to call it a comedy, but can you put it on a sports list? If you wanted to make a sports list, you could, right?
You could. And I'm sure when we make a sports list down the road, we'll put this on.
All right. Caddyshack in at number 5. In at number 4 is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
See, some of these movies are going to be older, because you saw him for the first time, and then it's like grabbing onto like a favorite band or a favorite, song or an album. It's a moment in time, and it takes you back, and that's what Fast Times does for me. Every line of that movie, every character of that movie, I think is great. I think it's brilliantly casted. Yeah. Over the years, it's just it's aged like a fine wine. This is where it gets tough for me. In at number 3 is going to be Tombstone.
That's great.
Tombstone is. Have we done best westerns yet? We did war movies. We didn't do westerns yet, did we?
No, westerns are good. We could do that.
Dude, Tombstone is by far and away my favorite western movie of all time. So I don't know if you and I were on when we talked to. Were you and I together? Were we on when we talked to Val Kilmer?
Yes. Or no, it was Kurt Russell.
He said that. No, well, I at some point I talked to Val Kilmer, and he said that Tombstone was his favorite movie that he made. And Val Kilmer's made 100 movies. Oh, yeah, and he said that was his favorite movie. And of course, I wouldn't shut up about Tombstone. And he's been in so many other things. But Tombstone in at number 3. Damn. Number 2, Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank.
Bro.
Andy Dufresne.
That's the TV movie.
Yeah.
I can tell you in all honesty, I've only seen the beginning of Shawshank, like how he gets in prison, maybe 3 times. In prison, when it's on, I'm locked in. I love that movie. I love every second of it. It's so weird though. I never catch Shawshank in the beginning. I forget you can walk up on the street and ask people, what did Andy Dufresne do to get into prison? Most people won't know, but they'll know everything else about the movie. There's something weird about the intro that nobody cares about.
I think it's
just about all the shit that happens.
It's always on. It seems like it's on a loop on some channel constantly. So it's always on.
Yes.
So I'll walk into the middle, or he'll be on the roof, paint tower on the roof, ask for the beers, or he'll be getting it right in the ass in the film room. And is that the worst when you punch it up and you're like, oh man, Shawshank's on. All right. And then there he is just getting beat in the face with the old reels, the movie reels. And then he's taking it. And you're like, this part, why did I turn on in this part? But I'll keep watching. I don't give a shit. Or the showers, or any of the horror, that creepy chubby guy. Hey, what's up? And you're like, oh.
We all need friends in here. Come on. Why are you talking about the worst parts of the movie right now? This is a great movie, and you're talking about all the rape scenes.
Because it seems like that's when you always punch it up, right? You're like, oh, this movie's gonna be great. And,
if we're gonna talk Shawshank, don't get all rapey about it, okay? Let's talk about him getting out and Red meeting him, and there's a stone that no stone should be there.
Climbing through all that shit in that tunnel.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, fuck. Brutal.
The movie that I've probably seen the most out of any movie in the history of movies. I probably haven't seen the movie in 10 years, and it's still number 1.
Wow.
Stripes. Bill Murray, Stripes. That was my first R-rated movie. That was my first on-screen boobies in the shower scene. John Lithgow. It was on HBO, dude. Bro, it was on HBO. Some of this stuff too, when you're a little kid, if you lock into something, I could have put probably Beastmaster on here. I could have probably put Eddie and the Cruisers on here. All that stuff that ran continually on like HBO. Stripes was always on HBO. And that was our favorite movie. And I'm talking every single line of that movie I know. Number 1, Stripes.
But back then, they only had like 12 movies on HBO because they just didn't have that many. So you ended up watching it just by default. You watch it over and over and over again. I forgot about Stripes. I haven't seen that in years either. See, this is what's great about these movie lists. It just means that I'm going to go back and watch some of these damn movies because I haven't seen Tombstone in years. Fast Times, I always catch just pieces of it because there's always the parts you really like. And then I'm out. I'm done. So you're right. I haven't watched a lot of those movies in a long time. So top 5 movies you've seen 10 times or more and you always punch up. I had to immediately throw a bunch of movies right in the garbage off the top because you're going to see Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Star Wars. For me, any Tarantino movie, I've seen them all a million times. All those, I just kind of went, okay, all the Marvel films, I said, okay, over here. So I went with Death Proof.
Dude, that's so weird. That's so weird that you've become freakishly odd, weird superhero guy since I've left New Orleans. Now I've been gone 18 years and you got a little kid. So
that helps there.
Is it all kid induced, the superhero movies, or did you just gravitate towards them?
The first Iron Man movie came out, and I was like, I didn't go to the theaters to see it. I was like, I don't give a shit. Fucking who's Iron Man? I didn't even know who he was. He was a C-list hero that I never heard of before in my life.
He was a bad guy when we were little kids, I think.
Yeah, and it came on, and I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. And I got sucked in, man. And Iron Man was such a great movie. It's just a good movie. Don't forget about superheroes and all the bullshit. It was just a good movie. I'm like, that guy's badass. And then they sucked me in. And then there was Captain America. And then it was this. And then I just went along for the ride. And I was like, oh, man, they got me. So I became a huge fan. Now, I don't know shit about it. I don't know nothing about comic books. But yeah, got sucked into them. And I still love those movies. They're still well done. The movie Death Proof, which is weird. It's a weird fucking Tarantino. It's that half. He did Grindhouse. Robert Rodriguez, Grindhouse, and then Kurt Russell, the Tarantino version. It was 2 movies. It was like a tribute to the old 70s movies, right? Where you go to the theater and the film be all fucked up and it was a mess. So Kurt Russell,
like the cars in that.
It's the cars. He had that Chevy Nova. And it was in the tension and the dialogue, the chick sitting in the bar and all the shit going on. Tarantino's so great at building tension that you're just like, what the fuck's going on? Why do I care about this? But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why I care. And it was funny and it was messed up. Anytime that's on, because the car chase scenes are great. Like Tarantino spent a lot of time putting those chase scenes together. So they're really, really well. So I get off on that.
I've seen that car. I've seen that flat black car with the skull on it driving around in Houston. I don't know if it's from the movie, because I know that was filmed in Austin.
It's filmed in Austin.
I don't know if Robert Rodriguez is involved with all of that, but I've seen either a copy of that car, but I've seen it two separate times driving around Houston.
It's a fucking scary car. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
He uses a car to kill those girls. It's so brutal. And the music's great, of course. Saving Private Ryan, it's on. I'm watching it. We talked about war movies. I mean, how great is that movie? How do you not watch it? I mean, it's so great. Braveheart. I mean,
oh, dude, yes.
Braveheart is so great. Braveheart is so great. When it's on, I'm watching it. But see, what happens is Braveheart's one of those ones where, like, if he's like young, but when he starts getting with a chick, and then you're like, oh, great. And here comes a wedding scene.
It doesn't last long, though. The romance part, dude, they kill her quickly. Sorry, spoiler alert. And then it fuels the whole movie. So there's not a whole lot of romance in that. It gets into it.
Yeah, and that's the part I always end up. The last 3 times it's been on, man, I'm like fold my boxer shorts and my other short shorts, and I'm like, boom, turn it on, and there it is, man. She's getting put to that steak, and that fucking dude slices it, slices her throat. You know what? I don't usually turn my head away from movies, hardly ever. I'll watch everything. I don't give a shit, dude. I've seen that movie probably 200 times. 199 times, I turn my head. I do not want to see that chick getting her throat slashed. It's so disturbing.
But what about the end, though? Do you keep it on when he's getting quartered?
Yeah, I watch the whole fucking thing. It's terrible. It's so the first time I watched that movie, I was just like, I was splayed out on the floor, just freaking out the whole time, going, what the fuck? When's this going to be over? When is I had to have it explained to me.
End? What are they doing to him? What? Because they don't show you.
They don't show you because they can't. Jesus.
And there's a little bit of history there, believe it or not. I mean, they took a lot of liberties with that movie. William Wallace is a real character, but I'm like, what are they doing to him? What's happening right now?
They're doing some bad things to his body, man. They're cutting him open, pulling out his guts and everything else. And he's just sitting there taking.
Dude, great. All of a sudden, I hate my list.
That movie's great. Anytime The Departed is on, I'm fucking watching that movie. The Departed. And it hasn't been on in a while. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but that movie is so great. The dialogue is so sharp. And it's not what you expect. You know, people are dying like, what the fuck? They just killed that guy? What happened? The Departed is so great and so evil. It's so brutal and so right on. And then Shawshank. I mean, how do you not, Shawshank is going to win everything. It just wins.
You guys, Shawshank's your number one?
Shawshank's number one. I mean, and I don't like now when I watch it, I'm not even that excited about it. I just watch it to watch it because it's like it's a comfort food. You know, like you said, it's like seeing an old rock band. It's like it's the hot dog. It's just a comfort food. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Still love it.
Right when you said Braveheart, my brain went crazy, and I should have said 300.
Yeah.
I should have said Gladiator.
Gladiator is good.
Just
too.
Never, ever, ever get sick of watching it. 300 I should have put on my list because that's just any part visually. Visually, it's so great. The lines, Gerard Butler's such a badass in that movie. All of these are good movies, though. These are all, I mean, if anyone that's listening that hasn't seen these movies, come on now. Saving Private Ryan was like my number 6 or 7 on this list. Just always whittling these lists down, and it's brutal.
Well, that's why I had to throw out like the obvious Star Wars and the Indiana Joneses and the Back to the Future and all the bigs. I'm like, everyone's seen those things. I'm not putting down Jaws. Okay, I get it. I've seen Jaws a trillion times, but it's like I'm not gonna I'm not putting it on my list. That one actually is almost like I couldn't tell you. Other than the shark scenes, what the fuck goes on in Jaws? Because it's been so long since I've seen the whole movie. It's just
my god, I know.
I want to see.
I know all the dialogue in that one too. I know every line
on the boat. I want to see Quint. I want to see the guy. I want to see that part of it. The rest of it, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Jaws is freaking great.
Jason, we got a couple of emails about the podcast. There's a couple of people listening, and there's a couple of people watching on YouTube. This guy specifically watches the podcast on YouTube, so thank you. I mean, look, I'll give you all right. You've been hanging in there a long time, everybody. Here we go. All right, I'm going to show you now. I know people are going to like zoom in on this shit. You want to see some pictures? There's Rodney Ryan and Randy Ryan and Susan Ryan and our first communion pictures.
Dude.
And then that's where I used to have a little bar. Remember that used to be a bar down there, Jason?
I recall it well, unfortunately. Yes.
And
you still got in the ceilings.
Stairs.
So you got the drop ceilings there, right? And you still got fucking like Bud Light coasters stuck in the corners, man. Oh my God, I forgot about those. Holy shit.
Over here.
Look at this.
Hang on. That's where my bedroom used to be.
Yeah.
There's some more pictures of me.
Wait.
See, I mean, dude, again, some pictures of me. I'm not above 12. I'm not over 12 or 13 in those pictures. I think I'm 8 in those pictures over there.
Wow.
So yeah, always in groupings of 3. You know what I mean? You didn't want one kid to be slighted. So you always had groupings of 3 pictures everywhere around the house. And they're still up here in the basement. It's bad down here, bro.
Dude, I remember.
Right, so,
Wait. No. You can't fucking, no. We are not, you've got to watch.
Whoa. Do they still make these?
Probably not.
What that is? That's a laundry chute. Like you would open up a little door in the hallway upstairs and you would throw down your panties. Ew. And it would go down there and then my mom would do the laundry down here.
Oh, that's kind of
Did you have
handy,
a laundry?
No.
Did you have a laundry chute?
No, you had to put that shit in a basket and carry it down the stairs. And,
it's a little door. And you'd be stuffing it in there, and then like, God damn it, you put too much in there. Like I'm too lazy to bring my sheets and stuff down. I'm trying to put everything in that laundry chute, and it's like, dude, it's this wide. A pair of underwear, jam it up, okay? And like we're putting all of our towels in there and everything.
Oh, so Jesus Christ, man. Dude, so when I first met Rod, we met in college, and you go back to episode 1 and 2 to learn all that crazy shit, right? So we meet in college. Well, then Rod's like, dude, you got to come to my place. We're going to go out. There's some bars up near my house. We're going to go out one night. I go, dude, I'm fucking 19. And he goes, oh shit. I goes, okay, well, don't do that. So then we ended up getting season tickets in Buffalo, lacrosse. We had a professional lacrosse league. And the Buffalo Bandits, and they're still there. So we ended up going through our college radio station. And again, nobody else was doing this shit. We ended up getting passes to go to the practices. We get, when you hear like an artist say, hi, this is, Eddie Van Halen from Van Halen on, The Buzz or whatever. We got all these lacrosse players to do that for our radio shows. So, I mean, we were kind of ahead of the curve, at least in our effort wise. So then we got so into it, we got to know the guys that we ended up buying season tickets way up in the fucking nosebleeds, right? For the Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. And they did this like in the odd, which was like your arenas where your NBA plays and your NHL plays.
Yep.
So Rod's like, dude, cruise up and we'll get a couple beers and then we'll in my house and then we'll cruise up to
my mom's house.
Cruise up to the gang. Yeah, well, it's your house then. I'm like, all right, dude. So I just randomly, I'm like, well, I can't show up with nothing. So I walk into this fucking convenience store that wasn't far from your house, and I get a 6-pack Old Milwaukee's, or a 12 at Old Milwaukee's.
12er.
Old Milwaukee's, dude. We don't live in Milwaukee, and Old Milwaukee's not good beer, but it was the cheapest shit. And I remember walking into your basement, and there's you and about 4 or 5 other dudes down there and a bunch of people hanging out. Dude, I walked in with Old Milwaukee's, and everyone just was like, yeah, all right. Like, apparently that was the beer you guys drank. And I scored so many points just by walking in with fucking Old Milwaukee beer.
Yeah,
and
cheap beer, dollar. We used to say dollar for dollar is the best beer back in the day.
it was great. So yeah, and then we would drink at your bar that you just panned over to that's no longer there. I remember doing shots of fucking Goldschlager and cactus juice. Remember that shit? Goldschlager.
I remember Goldschlager because it was right when it came out.
Oh,
and everybody was kind of drinking it.
We were drinking,
and you would have to go out of your way, dude. Look, there's real gold in here, man. Check it out, dude. There's like real gold flakes in here.
Yeah. You were always real proud of that. You'd be like,
disgusting.
dude, check it out. Fucking, there's real gold in here. I'm like, so I'm gonna shit gold. Am I gonna be in my toilet tomorrow morning with a miner's helmet?
Dude.
Fucking
you're gonna
sifting?
shit gold.
I'm gonna be in there sifting like I'm mining for gold in my own shit. How does that
be
work?
panning in your shitter?
So anyway, yes, Rod, the basement is bringing back a lot of interesting memories for me. So the listener said in an email to you,
listener Trey. So he watches on our YouTube channel, which on YouTube at Playpants Pod. I love the podcast. Now he wrote a really long email, so I'm going to go through this quickly. I love the podcasts. Let me see. Blah, blah, blah. I love all the stories. You can tell that you and Jason have been friends for a long time. Maybe you guys could talk a little bit more about celebrities that you've enjoyed meeting. And I think people would love to hear about ones that you maybe had a problem or they were dicks. Keep up the podcast. And he just got caught up too. So thank you, Trey. I appreciate that. Was this hard for you? Because Jason and I do a little, I know it doesn't sound like it, but we do a little pre-planning. And I told him that I wanted to share this email. So I wanted to give him a heads up just so they can kind of like go through the thought process on what he wanted to mention. But was it easy for you when I said, like, what's easier? Was there someone that was the coolest? And if you tell me that fucking Eddie Van Halen story again, I'm gonna jump through this camera. No. Was it easy to come up with somebody that was cool, or was it easier to come up with somebody that was being a dick?
You know what? I came up with, I don't recall a whole lot of people being dicks. I think in our time in radio, most people have been at least tolerable on the air. They may not give you a great interview and then you just end it, you know. But yeah. I don't recall anybody really being a dick to me. But see, when you said this, I was like, I got an interesting story that was great and horrible at the same time. And I'm not going to tell the Eddie Van Halen story again because I know you get pissed. I'll do that in the next episode, I guess, you know, where he hit me where I met Eddie Van Halen and the whole band. He hit me on the shoulder with a leather jacket. We did that last episode, so I'm not going to bother.
And then when you told the story, you went, "Hey, Ed." I'm like, "Fuck, you did. You did not say, 'Hey, Ed.'"
Yeah, well, Eddie, he didn't like being called Eddie. His name was Edward. I tried to fit it. I tried to be nice to him, you know. I didn't get into it. So anyway, first of all, I'm very appreciative of the job I have. So anytime I get to interview anybody who's a celebrity, rock star, whatever, dude, I have to do the old, okay, you're a professional. Don't be a dipshit. Just be cool. Try to get a good interview. The listeners want to hear something interesting, so don't fuck it up. That's what I think of. I appreciate it first, and then I'm like, okay, I got a job to do. But I'm starstruck. Anyone I see, I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. You know, I got to meet Aerosmith one time. So I figured I'd fucking dump the Eddie Van Halen and I'd throw in Steven Tyler just to piss you off.
When did you meet Aerosmith, Dick?
Shit, it was early 2000s. I was programming WRNO, a classic rock station in New Orleans at the time. And I was just dating my wife at the time. So we ended up, Aerosmith was on this huge tour and we did a promotion. And it's like, I got to go backstage and I could bring 3 other people with me. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I don't think you were here. And so I'm like, holy shit, you know, if this doesn't fucking get this chick who ends up being my wife now, excited about knowing me, nothing will. I'm going to take her backstage to meet Aerosmith. So I brought her sister, and her sister's friend. Okay. And I'm like, okay. And when anytime someone envisions backstage, they have this crazy picture in their head that's going to be like, oh, you know, blow and booze and all this shit. No, you're fucking like sheep going through a corral like you're going to go ride Splash Mountain at Disney World, man. You're just waiting in line for your turn. Get your ass over here. Stand here. Say hello. 1, 2, 3, picture. Get the fuck out. That's backstage when you meet these major bands. Yeah. It's not as cool as it sounds, but you still get to go, hey, wow, cool. I love your band. You know? So out comes Steven fucking Tyler. And I don't know, like the bass player. Anyway, it's all about Steven Tyler, obviously.
Hamilton.
Yeah. So
Brad Hamilton.
Brad Whitford, right? Tom Hamilton.
Brad Whitford. Tom Hamilton.
There we go.
And Brad Whitford. You got it. We got it.
One of them. Anyway, so we get there and we go to take the picture. And Steven Tyler's just being fucking Steven Tyler, man. It's always on. He's like Roth, you know, it's like it's on. Yeah. He's owning the room. And then, you know, the second he sees my wife and the 3 girls I brought with me, he doesn't give a fuck who I am. I'm not even in that room, dude. I don't exist. They don't even know who he is hardly. They barely know who Steven Tyler is, but he's fucking great. He's badass and he's great looking and he's a rock star. I am literally, so we go to take the picture and I go to stand next to Steven Tyler because, you know, I'm the fucking program director. I set this thing up. I do all this work to get this to happen. I go to stand next to him and I get fucking elbowed and pulled around. And next thing you know, dude, the picture was taken, right? It's my wife, my sister-in-law, her friend, and Steven Tyler hanging off him. They're hanging off him. And I'm like a dude who's like, you know, you ever get one of those pictures where it's that guy who's like that creeper in the background?
Who can easily be airbrushed out.
Yes, that was me. Photoshopped out. Like I leaned in to get in the fucking picture because it kind of pushed me out.
I made this happen. This is like, because of me.
You fuckers. And then wait, it gets better. So that we take the picture and it was the old, you're not allowed to use your own camera, your own phone. They take the picture. Then like a week later, they'll mail you the fucking 8x10s, right? Yeah. Get the 8x10. I come up to the house. I go, check it out. Here's the picture. And I'm pissed because I'm fucking way off in the background. It's like a Zapruder film from Kennedy. I'm like way in the back, right? And I go, here's the fucking picture. And they're like, all the girls are like, oh my God, it's so great. They lost the picture. It doesn't exist anymore. They lost the fucking picture. I got a picture somewhere in the world.
Come on.
Yeah, they lost it. I don't know where it is. Not that I'm really in it anyway. That is that's a great and horrible celebrity encounter. But I got to meet Tyler for about 30 seconds. No. 12 seconds. And I'm like, and you're trying to be cool and you're trying to say all the right things. And it just comes out, hey, Steven Tyler, my name's Jason. I really like you. You're the best. Awesome. Thanks. Okay, get the fuck away from me. Where's your wife? Where's your future wife? Fuck, dude. Lesson learned. Don't bring your chick backstage. It's bad.
Of course.
It's the dumbest thing ever. It's the dumbest. Dude, Steven fucking Tyler.
Yeah, I never met him. I don't know.
I barely did. And it's not documented either. So give me one because then I got another one. I got to get this other one out too.
I'll give you a bad encounter and you must have just forgot about it. I know you were probably in the building. You and I, when we first started in radio in Buffalo, meaning that we were on full time.
Right.
And like Jason said, always refer to that first episode. We do a lot of getting a lot of shit out of the way so that we don't have to go and re-explain everything. But I'm doing afternoon drive 3 to 7. Jason's doing 7 to midnight. So I got to do a lot of the interviews. If a band was in town, you know, the bands would come by the studio, or I would at least get the phoners, meaning you interview them over the phone. The afternoon show would get a lot of that. And apparently he wasn't feeling great. So they're already kind of laying down the groundwork. But I do have to back up to Jason and I. We were bad on the radio. Like we were really awful. And I was terrible. I was so awful. And we didn't have a whole lot of like interview experience when we got the jobs. And it just kind of, okay, go do this. I mean, how much of that when we first got hired? Okay, just go do this, you know, go and be the guy at the bar and it's your remote now and go do this. So Everclear is coming through and they're going to be on the air with me and the whole band is going to be there. And it's intimidating. It's Everclear. It's no big deal. Like right now I look back on this and I just tell my young self, why would you even get worked up over something like this? It's Everclear. Well, they were a big deal at the time and they probably had a #1 song out. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the middle of the interview, and I suck. I'm terrible at interviewing people. Really bad. Art fucking left the room in the middle of the interview. The lead singer of Everclear left the room in the middle of the interview. Now, I don't know if I'm sucking so bad. They said that he was sick, which that's bullshit. He wasn't that sick. Right. But I remember, like, you remember Rich Wall, who was on Middays.
Right.
And he kind of set up a lot of that stuff. Maybe he was the assistant program director back then. And he cussed out the label and everything. The lead singer leaves. That's the guy you want to talk to. Now I'm left talking to, hey, so bass player guy that I'm not prepared for. The dude got up and left in the middle of the interview.
That's
now,
not good.
I've talked to Art 10, 15 times since then. I only shared with him once. I'm sure he doesn't remember. I've only shared with him once that he got up and he apologized. And I said, dude, I'm not bringing it up to make you apologize to me. I'm just telling you that I'm putting it on myself. I think I was so bad at interviewing people on the air. I think you just said, I don't need this. This is bad for my career. And you walked out. But I remember that being a live radio moment. You must have been in the building.
I was down the hall.
I was decimated, dude. I hated Everclear for the longest time. I remember the second time I had to interview them when we were in New Orleans. I remember interviewing Everclear, and I wasn't at that point yet. You're still not that great. We still were just kind of finding ourselves on the air. But man, I wanted to light him up so bad to say, you dick, man, I was this young broadcaster and you didn't give me the chance. Art is a really nice guy. Yeah. He's awesome. And I've interviewed him a million times. Just a couple years ago down in Galveston, they played maybe Mardi Gras or something like that. I never bring that story up. He's just a super nice guy. He helps out other bands. He's got a show on Sirius XM. He's well-spoken. He's always been really intelligent. I just think I was so bad that he walked out of the interview and I was absolutely decimated. And I think that it ultimately made me a better person and a better interviewer. But oh boy, was I so mad at him. Just because I don't even think the whole band was there. Maybe it was him and the guitar player. And now I'm just talking to one person. Nobody on the radio knows. I'm not saying that the lead singer walked out. Nobody can see. We're not on the internet.
Right.
It was, I thought my career was over. I really did.
But maybe he was actually sick. Maybe
I don't know.
Because I always heard that too.
Know.
I had heard different people say he was fucking sick and puking in the garbage can or something. I mean, whatever. Either way.
But what was going to work on us though back then? Like, if you hurt our feelings back then professionally, it was going to be tough. Like we were so, not like that we were oversensitive, but just we were so careful and cautious about our careers that we thought we were gone, every other day we thought we were going to get fired for some reason. And I thought, okay, a band walked out, I suck, boom, I'm never going to get another interview, nothing. Well, it made me better,
But what people don't understand though, Rod, even from day one, when we first got our jobs, they said, you got to do an interview. We'd both sit down and we'd be researching shit, going through all the liner notes and the CDs, reading everything we could get, reading the bios of the band. So you always had a sheet and you would always prepare the interviews. We don't just walk in there cold, I mean, you did your homework. And so that way, even though we both pretty much sucked, the effort we would put in, at least there was that.
Right. I was prepared for it, but I just sucked. I was terrible. I know I was terrible. And it was a combination of Art being sick and me sucking on the radio. I mean, he didn't announce that he's leaving or anything. He just walked out right in the middle of the interview.
Jesus Christ, dude. But
that's tough for a new broadcaster. What's
funny is how far you came, because I'll never forget, we're in New Orleans and you got to fast forward maybe a year and a half later. So you got a lot of experience, not a lot, but you got experience now. You've interviewed a lot of bands and we're in New Orleans. And at that point we were getting all kinds of bands coming through like fucking crazy, because the End was a brand new station. Everybody wanted to be in New Orleans. I mean, it was a hot moment in time for radio, and you were just doing interviews after interviews. It was almost like somebody in there almost every fucking day.
It was a
And
lot.
I remember Vince, our program director, coming in and going, "Hey, man, you got the guys from Cake coming by. We got an interview set up for you, Rod. You're going to talk to the guys." So you're fucking, there you are, man. You're spending an hour just combing as much information. You're writing down bits and tidbits. Hey, and you'd always yell at me, "Dude, what the fuck do you know about Cake?" I'm like, "Nothing. Who the fuck knows anything about Cake?" And we'd go around and, we'd both throw shit around, just anything to get a good question or at least get you talking out loud about the band. And I'll never forget it because you were sitting in the on-air studio was there, and I would be in the production studio making commercials and bullshit, right? And there was a window, wasn't there? Seems like I could look in there. I could always see into the studio.
Yeah. I think they had a window in the first building.
Yeah, I could see everybody's backs. So I'd be like, holy shit, man, it's fucking Evan Dando's back from Lemonheads. Whoa, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So you're talking to Cake, and I see like one dude walk in, and then I see like one of the record guys who always brings the bands by. And I just look at your face and I could tell you're mad. Like from the other room, I knew you were mad. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on, man? Why does Rod look so pissed? And I see you gritting through the interview and gritting through it, and you're just grinding. And those guys leave, and you come out of there like you're fucking lit up. What the fuck? I interviewed the trumpet player from Cake. The goddamn trumpet player. You sent the dude. All I heard for the next week was a fucking trumpet player, this trumpet player, that fucking trumpets. And he was a nice guy. That was the worst part about it. But
his name? Now, you cut an ID with him.
I did.
Which means, hey, this is Vince from Cake.
Yes.
And he dropped the microphone, and we kept that drop in there. He fumbled the mic. Hi, this is Vince from Cake. Whoa, sorry. And he apologized. And we used to play the shit out of that on the air. Yeah, they sent me the trumpet player.
Don't send
the interview.
It's one thing to get the bass player. All right, that's a bass player. The singer never wants to fucking do it. And that's who you want. That's who you know. It's always who you know, but they do it every city. They don't want to fucking do it, dude.
All right, quickly. So my best story. And there's a lot, man. We probably should spend a little bit more time on this, maybe in a future episode, but I'll just say that Dave Grohl is just as nice as you think he is. He's awesome. And I got to sit down and I did a national broadcast with Bono, and he was amazing. I got to really spend some time with Bono, and he was amazing. But for me, my best story, and he's, again, like the nicest dude on the planet, it's Jared Leto.
Oh, yes.
So Jared Leto is absolutely the nicest guy. He's the most handsome dude you've ever seen in your life. And he's got these piercing eyes. And when you're talking to Jared Leto, he's staring at you.
Jeez.
And he's looking right into your soul with the most beautiful eyes you've ever seen. And as I'm talking to Jared Leto, I'm saying to myself, holy shit, I'm talking to Jared Leto. And then I'm like, am I paying attention to what I'm still saying? Because I'm freaked out because these eyes are unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's the most handsome dude ever.
That's awesome.
And he's so nice. And he acts like he's interested in what you're saying. He's looking at you. Does this guy want me to talk right now? Jared Leto? So do you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Totally.
So
money.
I did the Ice Bucket Challenge here, and it was early on. We were pretty early on it. And I called out, he was coming to town, but it was months away. And I had some interaction with him already. And it's not like we're buddies, because Jared knows a lot of people in radio. Mm-hmm. He's got program directors' numbers in his phone. Hey, are you playing my record? He's super, super hands-on with radio, like bigwigs. And so I had some interaction with him, and I can't remember how the whole thing went down, but after I did my Ice Bucket Challenge, I called out like two of my friends, and then I went for a complete fucking wild card. I called out Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Jesus.
Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just call out your dumb friends and get it over with, and let's just keep this thing local.
Right.
So it gets to Jared Leto, and they're coming to town in a couple of months. And I see about 2 weeks later, somebody had sent me a clip. And I don't hear from Jared at all, nor would I. I'm watching The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Lindsay Lohan is on there, and they do the Ice Bucket Challenge, and she calls out three people, And don't you know she calls out Jared Leto? I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know if he banged her back in the day or what. So I'm thinking I'm sunk. And I'm sure a million people have called out Jared Leto. But this is on The Tonight Show, right? He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. 30 Seconds to Mars comes about a month and a half later. They play the Woodlands Pavilion. It's a sold-out show. And Jared Leto, in the middle of the set, says, okay, well, you guys got this guy, Rod Ryan, man. He called me out.
Holy shit.
And I told him I would do it, man. And, you know, I got to make good on this. He called me out. He goes, but I want everybody to do it. So he wanted to do like the world's biggest, you know, gallon or the bucket challenge, ice bucket challenge or whatever. But he called me out. He didn't, you know, bring me on stage or anything like that. But he called me out and he said, okay, Rod, you called me. You were the first. Let's do it. And he does it on stage, dude, at a sold out show. What's cooler than that?
Shit, you can't beat that.
Who's cooler than that? So we do go backstage afterwards. And I think this is when I'm dating my wife. And who looks cooler than me right now?
Jared Leto.
me, you know, me and Jared are pals, you know, ice bucket challenge pals. You know how we roll, you know, we're connected by the ice bucket challenge. And he just said, he goes, hey, dude, you're the one that called me out first. And I told him, I said, dude, when Lindsay Lohan called you out on the Tonight Show, I said, I'm done, right? This is not happening. He said, no, you called me out first. I waited.
Holy shit. That dude's fucking awesome, man.
He is unbelievable. So
how cool is that?
He's the nicest dude. Dave Grohl's that nice, but not that nice.
Right.
Jared Leto is superhuman nice. He really is. He's the nicest rock star in the world.
There's so many bands, like the younger bands, like the small bands that got their first single that come through town. You do those interviews and you do them and you do them and you do them, right? And it's those guys, and I'm not going to name names, but when they sit there and they're like, I don't want to do this. I'm too good for this shit. And I'm like, oh yeah, bitch, you got one song. Sit down and talk to me. You know, like I've ended interviews. I won't do it in an asshole way, but I'll just be like, okay, thanks for coming. I'll end it earlier than it should be. And then of course the program director, the record label will yell at me and I'm like, dude, your boy ain't talking. I'm working. I'm in there grinding, trying to get him to say something. If he ain't talking, see you later, buddy. Bye. Too bad. Not happening.
I've had a problem and I won't interview Maynard from Tool anymore. Maynard James Keenan. I think he's a wicked talent. I think he's awesome. I think Tool is awesome. I won't interview Maynard anymore. He's just not interested. The last time I interviewed him, and I had at least 3 or 4 turds. Now, granted, one of the interviews was about his wine, and that's all he wanted to talk about was wine. And I couldn't get one Tool question out of him. He was getting upset. I was getting upset. Okay, we need to end this. Another time he came on for Pussifer. That's all he wanted to talk about was Pussifer. And I'll play with you, okay? That's what you're pushing right now, and I get it, but you got to play with me too. I have Maynard on the phone, or I got Maynard in the studio. You got to play with me a little bit. I'll give you 3/4 of what you want, but you got to give me a quarter, right?
Right.
That's fair.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you see these guys on a Tonight Show, and they're talking. Kurt Russell telling a story about playing in Tombstone. You don't think he's said that same stupid fucking story 100,000 times.
Right.
You know what?
But that's
what people want to hear. You got to get
that
question. You got to get them to give you something. There's always that. You give me something, you know?
But the last time I talked to Maynard and he just was doing yes, no, maybe. Okay.
Bye.
I said, Maynard, it doesn't. And that's how I ended. I said, Maynard, it doesn't sound like you want to be here. I'm not really getting much out of you, man. Have a great show. Thanks for calling in. Boom. That was it.
See you later.
I was done. And I said, I'm not going to interview him anymore.
No, it's not worth it.
It's just he's just not interested in talking to me, or I think anybody. To be honest with you, I don't know why you'd even do it at all. Just say no, you won't do it. I mean, fucking Tom Cruise has called the morning show before.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise is called.
It doesn't make any sense.
We interviewed everybody, and they took the time to. Okay, they're on the air with us. Maynard just doesn't care. Doesn't care.
When you know you're doing a good job, though, and how many times has this happened to you, Rod, where you'll get somebody who's good, who you wanted, and you finally get to talk to this person, and they come on, and they're just, no. And you can feel it. You know, they just woke up. Because, especially when you're doing mornings, man, who the fuck wants to wake up at 5 a.m. and talk to zany morning show guys, right? Because that's most of the guys they're talking to around the country. It's the zany goofballs, right? Not that we weren't kind of the same, but they don't want to fucking talk to, they're doing the same interview 10 times in a row. So you get them on the phone and they're like, yeah, okay, yeah. And they're trying, but you can just feel they're not into it. But then if you can get them and you get them to, you find some left field question or something that no one's asked them yet, and you get them going, right? And they start chirping like birds, and then they're singing songs, and then they're happy. You've had that happen, I'm sure, but that's when you know you fucking, okay, I'm getting pretty good at this job to be able to turn somebody, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big changes that happened when I got here to Houston, as I'm talking to you in my mom's basement here, but when I got to Houston, the morning show that was on before me, and it was a totally different deal. And, you know, I don't bash those guys, but they were in 12th place when I got here. So they had on all the comedians. That's a whole nother animal, bro. That's so hard. They had a deal. They had a deal with the comedy club, and Houston's big. So every single big name comedian comes in, right? And they just, without, you get it. You got to spend money, and then they got to be a client, and then I'll help you sell tickets, blah, blah. They just let every comedian in. Oof. And just let them walk all over them. And I said, I don't do it that way, you know? And I've always struggled with interviewing comedians because it's the morning show, because it's early, because that's a part of their deal, depending on who they are. If they are Bob Saget or below, then on that contract, if they can do local media, they have to do it.
Right.
That's the way it used to be anyway. I mean, up in Joe Rogan, when Joe Rogan came in, you know, 15 years ago, they all had to come in and do morning radio. And I would turn down, they had to be a really big name to come in. But think about interviewing a comedian. It's one thing for a musician. You're talking to a guy about his music. You're talking about the band. And then it's always cool to get, hey, what kind of car do you drive? And, you know, hey, you know, what'd you have for dinner yesterday? It's just kind of neat to find out that shit about your favorite, you know, rock star.
Right.
A comedian, they don't know who this is. And not every comedian wants to come in and be funny.
No.
So, you know, and there's morning shows that are set up for this. There are morning shows. There's a show that's a syndicated show that's on 150 radio stations called Bob and Tom. And they're great at what they do. And one of them's not on anymore, but I think they still have that show out there. Mm-hmm. And it's set up for comedians. And somebody sits there and preps the comedians, and they kind of know because they've done it this way all their whole existence. The guys come in and they start doing a show on the morning show. I never required the comedians to be funny. I would just try to talk to them. And some of them wanted to be funny, and some of them just didn't want to be there. And I said, this isn't worth it. Guys like Bob Saget were always really cool. Were always really, really funny. You know, I got to meet Ralphie May, and Ralphie was always great. God rest his soul. He was one of the guys that I always let in. And there's about a handful. But there were just guys, and Joe Rogan, you know, I had beef with Joe Rogan back before he was the king of all podcasts. And I remember people would even tell him about it. He's like, well, what does this dick in Houston have a problem with me, you know, about? He just didn't want to be there. You know, he didn't want to be there in the morning. Just thought that it was beneath him. It was below him, but it was a part of the contract. That was always I love comedians. I love comedy. I love stand-up comedy. But talking to comedians in the morning, it's the worst. They don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
It's hard too, because like you said, in comedians, they have a set. They got a bit. They've worked on it. They've crafted it. A lot of comedians can write really great sets and perform them really well because it's almost like a play. You learn the lines that you wrote and you go out and you perform it every night. A lot of them aren't good at ad-libbing, and that's what morning radio or any radio is all about. You need to be able to be, if he says something up, I better be able to smash it. I mean, that's the way the game is played in the mornings, you know? And a lot of comedians don't have that in them. That's not how they think. They don't think quick like that. You know, they don't know how to do that. You know, having a comedian it is hard. And you shouldn't expect them to be funny. I don't expect him to be funny. I had Joe Rogan on years ago too. And he was one of the guys that came on and was just like, yeah, okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Awful.
Okay. And then I just started, I'm like, what can I throw at this motherfucker to get him to turn? And I kept chucking shit at him. And I got him near the last 5 minutes, man. It was like we were good old friends and it was great. he opened up. I started talking about cars with him and all the shit that he loved and all these different weird things. It weren't the same questions he got every time. I think that helps. And I know that you do the same thing. You're trying to find that one that's going to get him to really tell a different, interesting story. You're going to dig a lot deeper than the average goof. And that's what will get him to turn a lot of times. But yeah, it's funny that you bring up Joe Rogan, because I had him and I was like, fuck, man, I like Joe Rogan. He's funny,
but it's
cool.
It's different than Howard Stern, and it's different than if you ever listen to like we would listen to Opie and Anthony. We wouldn't have a comedian on for an hour.
You wouldn't 5 minutes.
You got to get in and out. We got about 6 or 7 minutes, and you're trying to find something, and you want them to come through because you want them to sell tickets. I mean, I never want to hurt somebody, but they're coming in on the show. Number one, I don't want them to kill my show, but I'm not trying to kill their show either. I mean, I'm trying to sell them tickets. And if they think that they're doing me a favor by coming in, I'm like, all I'm doing is fucking selling tickets to your show right now. You know what I mean? However you act, you're going to sell the last couple of tickets. Let's get a sellout here, man. Let's do this.
Yeah, they got to come in prepared too. I mean, it's part of the game. It's not just go be funny on stage that night. There's all the promotion shit that they got to do that, probably blows. I'm sure it does. Because again, like I said, these guys, when you hear that interview on your station or my station, guess what? There's 12 other stations around the country that just had that same fucking interview on. And that dude's probably answered the same questions, but you know what? That's your job. You got to just, okay, here comes that same old question again. Let's answer it again, man. Let's keep it going. Rod, I almost killed Aaron Lewis from Stained.
You almost killed him?
I almost killed Aaron Lewis from Stained. Years ago, I'll be quick about this because I know we got to do a break. We were doing a promotion. So he's at the arena, right? Stained is playing, and I don't know who the fuck was playing. There was like 4 or 5 bands on the bill. It was going to be a huge night. Well,
was it the Family Values tour?
I don't know. I think it was like Seether and Stained and 2 or 3 other bands. It was cool. It was a great lineup. So I put together an acoustic 4-song acoustic set. Him and Mike Mushak. How do you say his last name? Mushak.
Mushak, you got it.
Mushak, the guitar player. They agreed to do like a small, intimate, private performance. I'm like, holy fuck, how cool is this gonna be? Holy shit, I can't believe I put this together. So it's gonna be at a separate venue, a small bar. And Aaron Lewis was at the time, he probably still does it. He's got a badass Harley Davidson. I don't know what kind it is or nothing like that, but he loves it. And he trailers it behind the tour bus. It's in a trailer, separate trailer with all the gear. And anytime he gets to a new city, he would back the Harley out, spend hours polishing in the park. He's just fucking hanging out. He's got nothing else to do. And he'd ride it around your city, and then he'd go and play the gig and then pack it up, and next city he goes. So I go meet him at the arena in the parking lot, middle of the afternoon. I'm like, all right, man, I got my wife's car because she had an SUV. And I'm like, okay, we're going to cruise up because I had to pick him up. Because, we didn't have any budget for anybody to do any of that shit. So I was going to drive them both up to the gig, acoustic guitars, boom, done, right? Drive them back to the show, 45 minutes, maybe an hour total. Get there, and Aaron Lewis is fucking polishing his Harley. So everyone is standing around, the roadies and Mike, stand there and watch him polish his Harley. Nobody's saying a word. I walk up, I'm like, I'm kind of on the clock here. I got to get shit done, right? I'm like, hey guys, what's up?
Hey guys, Jason here. Hi, Jason. I'm here to pick you fellas up.
And I'm your ride to and Aaron, he's cool. I've talked to him a couple different times throughout the years.
He's mellow.
But he's mellow, and he's just kind of grumpy looking, But I don't think he's really grumpy. He just looks that way. And and he's like, hey man, he goes, we're doing that radio thing, right? And I go, yeah, dude. I said, we got to kind of get rolling here. He says, you mind if I ride my bike? I go, yeah, just follow me. That's great. He wanted to ride his Harley Davidson through New Orleans. I'm like, fuck yeah, he does. So I put Mike in the back seat with the record label dude of my wife's SUV. I got a 2.5, maybe 3-year-old at the time. I had to take out the car seat, clean out all the dead French fries and all the fucking cars, right? And then I got a guitar player from Stained sitting in my back seat, hoping I got everything. So I'm like, why don't I go up St. Charles Avenue? Now, St. Charles Avenue in New Orleans, it's all the oak trees, the green streetcar goes by, it's the mansions. I'm like, I'm going to take a little bit of a longer way, not out of my way, but a longer way. There's a faster way up St. Charles Avenue. Aaron Lewis is going to ride his Harley Davidson down fucking St. Charles Avenue. What a great idea. He's going to love me for this. He's going to fucking love me. We get about 4 blocks into St. Charles Avenue, right? I haven't been uptown in a while. It's fucking torn to shit. Construction, dude, like all
the worst on a bike too, man.
The pavement has been ripped up. There are just fucking orange cones and it's uneven. You might as well been driving on the surface of Mars. It would have been smoother, dude. I'm trying to I'm geeking out. I got fucking Mike in the back seat. I'm a fan. I'm asking all kinds of questions and we're talking about kids. We're talking about, he's pulling Matchbox cars out of my seat. And we're talking, all I'm doing is I keep watching my rearview mirror because I don't want to lose Aaron Lewis. And he's just back there and he's fucking bouncing everywhere. He's got a black Harley and it's just getting covered in dust.
Oh, he just got done cleaning it, you said.
I watch his handlebars. They're fucking jerking around and he's just bouncing. He's just fucking bouncing for 1.5 miles. We get to the venue and I'm like, I go, hey, Mike, how much does Aaron like his Harley? He goes, he lives for that fucking thing. I'm like, because we're both talking about how pissed he's going to be by the time we get to the venue, right? Because he's going to be pissed. You've ridden your motorcycle through rocks and shit. It's awful.
Oh, yeah.
I get out of the car. I walk over. Aaron takes his helmet off. His Harley's full of dust and shit. And he looks at me, he goes, is that the only road in New Orleans?
I mean, cleaning a motorcycle, in his defense, cleaning a motorcycle, I mean, your knuckles are trashed. I mean, you're just trying to get into everything. It's awful.
And he's like, and he even told me before we left, he goes, man, if you guys don't tell me we got to leave, I'll sit out here and I will just sit here and polish this thing the rest of the fucking night until I got to go sing. He tells me that before we go. We get there, his bike is destroyed. And he was cool. I mean, he wasn't happy, but he went and did a set and it was fucking great. But yeah, he was bouncing. I kept looking in the rearview mirror because I'd watch Aaron Lewis bouncing on his motorcycle in my rearview mirror. And he's all over the fucking road. He's going around potholes and manhole covers and shit. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm going to kill Aaron Lewis. This is going to be awful. Yeah, it's great.
Listener Trey, thank you for the email.
Yeah,
there's more here. There's definitely a little bit more that we'll have to get into, but that was a great email talking about what our the experiences, trying to get into some of the good and the bad stuff. If you have some thoughts like this, if you have some questions, definitely you can email me. I mean, I guess you email me rod@thebuzz.com. But Playpants, put comments down if you have questions. That's huge, man. On because he said he watches on YouTube. So he actually emailed me that, so he must be here in Houston. But if you have some questions, if you specifically watch us on YouTube, definitely send some questions into us. We're going to wrap up. We're going to have some final thoughts coming up. But first, I wanted to talk about if you are going to be heading to those beautiful, bumpy streets of New Orleans anytime soon.
It's fixed now. It's good. We're fine. We're fine.
The number one city that comes into Houston for all these big events, or the number one city that comes into New Orleans for all these big events, it's always Houston. So I know I've got a good audience here. If you're going to New Orleans, if you're going there to party, the city is open, baby. So that's number one. Number two, next time you're there, check out Pirates of the Quarter. All right. Pirates of the Quarter walking tour right there in the French Quarter. You have real history there that you're going to learn. You're going to continue partying. You're not going to stop partying. It's not like going to social studies class. It's not like going to a history class, but you're going to learn stuff and you're still going to party and you're going to walk around. It's the most unique walking tour in the French Quarter. The Pirates have been awarded the Traveler's Choice Award by TripAdvisor the last 2 years. So discover real pirate history. And these pirates that give you the tour, these guys know their stuff, man. They know their stuff. And it's things that actually happened where you're going to be walking. All right. So they know the history of New Orleans. They know the history of all the pirates. You can go to piratesofthequarter.com. Links on the Playpants podcast page and on our YouTube page. Bro, it went by quick today. I know we had like 10 other things that we wanted to talk about, but we should probably get into some final thoughts. And I should probably get back to my vacation.
Somebody's probably beating the shit out of each other upstairs over salt right now. So you might want to go straighten that out.
If my sister, I've been listening for my sister to come in. I can't keep my wife up there with my sister and my mom at the same, not for too long by herself. Right. They'll eat her alive. They'll eat her alive.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude, we could have went on for another 4 hours because we got so much great shit. And actually somebody, and I just fucking cringed, man. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, really, it'd be kind of cool if you guys did this more than once a week. And I'm like, No fucking way.
See his face?
No.
You see his face right here? Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck, please. Because they're like, I just, once I listen to it, I'm like, I want more and I want to listen again. I'm like, well, we kind of are doing
Thank you.
For extra credit, I guess, because that's all we're getting out of it right now is extra credit points, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the hatred of our mutual wives who are like, you guys don't fucking work enough. You're going to go do more dumb shit together.
I know.
It's like,
my wife sees me packing up all this shit. She's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm packing. She's good about loading up the kids' suitcase and all of that. And then I haul up all this shit upstairs. She's like, what is that? What are you doing? What? I said, well, I thought, maybe I would, still do the podcast. What? You're doing that dumb podcast on vacation? She didn't say that, but in all honesty, she wasn't very surprised, but she just said, oh God, you're going to record from your mom's house? I said, yeah, we're going to try. All right. So any final thoughts to share?
Actually, I just got a question. And I went to the dentist on Monday, just, the old clean it up shop there. And I'm sitting back there and I don't know what the etiquette is in the dental chair, but I've never really asked anybody this question. Maybe everyone does the same thing. Maybe this is just a stupid question, but when you're back there and you're kicked back and they got their hands in your mouth and they're cleaning the shit, are your eyes open or are you closing your eyes?
Bro, I thought you were going to tell me like you popped a rod or something while they were like digging around in your mouth.
No. You're covered up with that. No.
It's like, dude, what do I do?
Do I just finish myself off? And they got all the towels there. Why not go for it? Right?
Do I move it? Do I try to put it under the seam of my underwear? I mean, as they're digging around, you feel the thickening. Okay, I'm sorry. What was your question?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, your eyes.
I'm not getting a wax on my nuts. I'm getting my teeth done, man. It's not like, hey, this is pretty fun. I like this. This is going to be a problem here in a minute, I
don't mind the dentist. I may have chubbed a little. Okay. Your eyes open. No, you close them because you don't want to catch eye contact with somebody digging around in your filthy mouth. Your mouth is filth. Right. You don't want to catch eye contact with them, huh?
They're right there. They're right fucking there. But I what was weird is I was just sitting there. I was bored and I wasn't getting a boner. And I was like laying there. I'm like, and I got my eyes closed. I always close my eyes. The second they start, I'm like, eyes are closed. But I was sitting there thinking about it with my eyes closed, dreaming about like just kind of being a fucking weird guy and like opening my eyes and looking at them and fucking making weird faces. Like, but then I realized they got a bunch of sharp metal shit in my mouth, so maybe that's not a good idea. So I was just curious. I would assume everyone's got their eyes closed. Okay, all right. I like to throw it out there to the room. Sometimes this is my way of getting life answers in this podcast. Eyes closed. Rod, what about you, man? Final thoughts from the fucking chair there.
Garage beers. Garage beers. My final thoughts. So I've gone for just a couple of walks just to get out of the house. I got to get away from the salt and goddamn, not everybody wants salt. So I got to get outside. I got to go for a walk. So, dude, I'm walking around and, these are hardworking people here. It's mostly people that are working in industry and they're small houses. All right. So my mom's house is 1,200 square feet. It's an average house. Okay. You got a basement, obviously. Small homes. Most people don't have pools. I'm walking around. And there's a guy that I graduated with, Mike Cutlack. I'll give you the shout out. He's right down there. I ran into him the other day. He's like, Rodney, is that you? I'm still Rodney here. And he bought his grandparents' house and he has garage beers every day. He's got a crew in there. He's got a crew in there every night, Jason. Now he goes to work. He's got one of those county jobs. Mm-hmm. I think he's a garbage man. They sit in there. There is I went maybe 2 times ago when I was here visiting. I walked down there and it's smoky and garage beers are huge. It's not just my boy Mike down there. As I'm going for walks, there's dudes sitting in their garages drinking beers. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. I don't see that where I live. I live in Houston. I live in the Heights. And maybe people got backyards and there's front porches. I don't see people just sitting in the garage pounding beers. I saw it at 6 or 7 houses when I walked around for about 25 minutes. It's cool, dude. It's very cool here in the evenings.
Right.
Meaning literally cool, temperature cool. You don't have these big patios and these nice, you got small properties. You don't have a lot of place to party. Dude, there's a ton of garage beers going on, and it's kind of awesome.
It's almost like porch beers in New Orleans. A lot of people sit on their front porch drinking beers with their buddies. You know, same concept, but garage beers, something about sitting around your tools and shit. And you're always going to have a couple posters up or whatever, things on the wall, you know, my garage, my rules, that kind of shit. Don't steal my tools, that kind of thing.
It's awesome, dude. As I'm walking in the evening, if I'm out at about 7 o'clock or whatever, I'll run into at least, and dude, not Friday and Saturday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, I'm walking around and people are having garage beers. It's kind of awesome. It's pretty great. Now, my boy, Mike Kutlak, I told you about, he's got about 4 or 5 people in there. Dude, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Okay. If you want me to go and grab my sister and my wife right now, they'll tell you every day this guy is in his garage having garage beers every night. Like I don't think they watch, there's a TV in there, so they must kind of watch a little bit of TV, but there's about 4 or 5 of them in there and they just smoke. They smoke and drink Coors Lights, bro, every fucking night. They drink, they get drunk, they go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, in the garage, drinking beers.
Cool.
That's every night.
I like
That's every day, dude.
I want that job, man. No. Actually, you know what? You know what you just said? You know what you just said, right? That is where we were going. We both had those jobs.
Yeah.
And we talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. We were both heading that way. You were going to work in a factory and I was going to be driving a dump truck, dude. That was my life. I was going to, and there's no problem with that. I got no problem with that. Like, I would have done it.
Those guys down there, they own they each have a thermos and a lunch pail. Okay. Yeah. They have a thermos and a lunch pail. It's what Bruce Springsteen sings about. You know, I was walking into the factory with my lunch pail with Mike Kutlak. Okay. And all these guys that are in his garage every night, beers, dude, every night. I mean, there's a little bit of it where it's like, okay, man, every night, that's a little much, but there's a little bit that kind of like, hey, what if Mike's up? What if Mike's down there, man? Maybe, you know, I try to like back out the front door of my mom's house, you know, when I'm talking to, oh yeah, this is great. You guys watch Moana. I'm going to go to Mike's. I'm going to go down to the garage.
But you think that's because, and I don't know the science behind it, but like, I prefer to drink at my house. Now I don't have a garage, so I build a bar in my backyard. I'll drink there with the boys on the weekends, though, not during the week. Occasionally I'll have some beers on the weekends. But do you think that is replaced going to the bar? Because you go to the bar, it gets expensive, and there's always
you that. They'll tell you that in as many words. Like, dude, I don't go to. They probably all. Now I'm generalizing, but I know the guys. I know the guys specifically at Mike's place. They all got a couple DUIs. Okay.
There you go.
So they don't drive anymore. They're lucky that they got their license to go drive to work. And then boom, they sit there. You know what it looks like? It looks like when I lived here when I was a kid. Dude, there's 4 or 5 bicycles out there. Okay. These are grown men. They're in their fucking 50s. There's 4 or 5 bicycles parked out front. They all ride their bikes over there.
It's brilliant.
And garage beers. Yes. Honestly, I'm taking a picture.
But
I'm taking a stealth picture.
Think about it. When you're young, why are you going to a bar? To get fucking laid. You're going to a bar to get drunk and get laid. Okay. These guys are married. Okay. You've eliminated the main reason to go to a bar. And if you're just going to get a DUI anyway, stay home in your garage. It's cheaper. It's safer. It's the right thing to do. Why not? It makes sense. And if you're having fun, who gives a shit? You know?
Hashtag garage beers.
Dude, fucking garage beers. You know what? I could go for one right now. I could totally
go for a garage beer. I'm telling you, I might go. Those boys are probably there already. Whatever quitting time is, boom, they just meet there like clockwork, dude. And they're sitting there. He built a little bar in the garage and everything.
Yeah.
Got the fridge there. They put some kind of pisser in there too. There's a tube that goes somewhere. I don't know what's going on, but there's like a little shower curtain because he doesn't want all those guys in his house. Because it's his house. He doesn't want all those guys in there.
You don't want. Usually, we used to go around the back, man, and piss behind the garage. That's all we ever did, man.
And he doesn't want that. So he doesn't want him in his house. He doesn't want that. He's single. They're all single. They're all single down there.
Well, that answers a few questions.
There's no wives.
Huh,
there's no wives, there's no kids, there's no nothing.
I can't figure out why would those guys be single. Can't put my finger on it. I don't know why.
Right, no doubt.
Well,
so my final thoughts are garage beers. I'm gonna have a garage beer,
dude. You know what? I can. You know how you get that? I could really go for a beer right now. You know, I got that right now. I'm like, I can go outside and sit in my fucking driveway and just drink some beers and then chuck the cans at the neighbors.
But they're down there smoking, and it's Trump, it's Biden, Kamala, it's that, dude.
I wouldn't be there more than 2 minutes. I don't care about any of that shit, man. If I'm gonna have a beer, I'm gonna be mellow. I don't want to talk about anything but dumb shit. Kind of like this podcast. You know,
if I make it down there, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna snap some pictures.
Garage. Get a picture of the fucking curtain of the pit. I want to see that pisser. I gotta come up with an idea for my place.
Yeah, I gotta figure out. Okay, I will. I'm telling you, I'll do some stealth maneuvering out there. All right, that's enough. Did we just pull this off?
I think you got your Freddie Mercury microphone. You got to watch the YouTube version of this, man. You got to see it because I've been sitting here just laughing. I'm like, every time I look, I feel like Rod's in prison.
Well, I took the bottom off because it was too heavy.
Right.
And then I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to hold it like a stand-up damn comedian.
Oh my God, damn it. I'm just dying. Well, you know what? In a couple of weeks, I'm actually going over to Florida. So I'll be some fucked up.
It's going to be on you.
It's going to be me, and I'm going to be miserable somewhere trying to pull this off. And you know how it is when you got to bring all your gear. You're like, fuck, is it going to work? I mean, we're barely have this thing together as it is. And to travel and try and do this, we're not smart enough.
Yep.
Although it works. And I think that chair, dude, the chair is what's selling it for me.
You like it? Yeah, I had to move things around a little bit, but you know what? It's kind of nice down here, though. If things don't work out with my wife. You know,
dude, I'm pretty sure you might want to get your ass upstairs now because you may be fucking sleeping down there tonight. If you don't get your shit together, get out of here.
All right, that's it. We got to go, guys. Thanks so much for checking this out.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's go. It's time. Put on pants. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at PlayPantsPod.